I didn't know my marriage was about to crack when my husband told me he was going to a family reunion. At that moment, it sounded ordinary. Safe, like one of those boring weekends I'd already survived before. I had no idea that by the end of that weekend, I'd learn I wasn't just excluded from a trip, I was excluded from his life in ways I couldn't ignore anymore. My husband, Noah, checked his phone that morning like it was carrying bad news. It buzzed once, and he grabbed it instantly. Too fast. His eyes moved across the screen, his jaw tightening. Then he did something that stayed with me. He deleted the message and placed the phone face down on the table. "Everything okay?" I asked, pretending not to notice. "Yeah," he said quickly, "just my mom." That was when he told me. "My family's doing a small reunion at the lake this weekend. Nothing special." Nothing special. The words didn't match the man saying them. Noah's family never did anything casually. They planned months ahead, dressed like it mattered, and treated gatherings like events. A small reunion didn't fit. "That sounds nice," I said. "Which lake?" "The usual one," he replied, already turning away. "Same crowd, golf, talking about money, you'd be bored." I laughed lightly, but something felt off. "I don't mind boring," I said. "I could come for a day." He froze, just for a second. Then he smiled and kissed my forehead. "Honestly, you'd hate it. Besides, didn't you say your friends were planning something?" That part was true. My friends had mentioned a ski trip. I'd felt unsure about leaving Noah alone, but now he was handing me an excuse like he needed me gone. I told myself I was overthinking. I always did. "Call them," he said. "We'll both have fun." That night, while we made dinner together, he barely looked at me. When I asked when he was leaving, he said Friday after work. When I asked when he'd be back, he said Sunday night. Short answers. Clean answers. Practiced answers. I lay awake next to him later, listening to his breathing. He was tense, like he was waiting for something to happen. I wanted to ask him what was wrong. I didn't. The next morning, he left early. No goodbye kiss, just a note on the counter, "Early meeting, have fun skiing, love you." I stared at that note longer than I should have. Before I left for my trip, I slipped a small note into his bag. Just a heart and a few words about missing him. I needed him to remember me while he was away. At that point, I still believed I mattered. I didn't know that, while I was packing snow boots, he was preparing for something he never planned to tell me about. And I didn't know that one lie, simple, calm, carefully spoken, was about to expose everything. The more I replayed that morning in my head, the more his reactions started lining up in ways I didn't like. Noah didn't panic often. He was calm by nature, careful with words, controlled with emotions. But when I suggested coming with him, something in him had cracked, just briefly, but enough for me to notice. I brought it up again that evening, casually, like it didn't matter. "Maybe I'll drive up with you," I said. "I can leave early if I get bored." He didn't answer right away. He kept chopping vegetables, slow and precise, like he was buying time. "It's really not worth it," he said finally. "My mom's already stressed. Dad's in one of his moods. It'll just be awkward." "For who?" I asked. He laughed, but it sounded forced. "For you." That answer stayed with me. "Not us, me." "I don't mind awkward," I said. "They're your family." He put the knife down then and looked at me. His face softened, like he was trying to convince me he was being kind. "I just don't want you uncomfortable. You know how they are." I did know how they were. Conversations that stopped when I entered the room. Jokes I wasn't part of. Photos posted later where I somehow never appeared. I'd learned to swallow that feeling and call it adjustment. Still, something about how strongly he pushed back made my chest tight. He stepped closer and lowered his voice. "Please, just go enjoy your trip. This is easier." Easier? That word landed wrong. Later that night, I called my friends and agreed to the ski weekend. They were excited. I pretended I was too. When I told Noah, relief flashed across his face before he hid it. "Perfect," he said. "Everyone's happy." But I wasn't sure that was true. On Friday afternoon, he left first. He hugged me longer than usual, like he was making up for something. "Drive safe," he said. "Text me when you arrive." "I will," I replied. "You too." I watched his car disappear down the street, trying to ignore the feeling that I'd just been carefully removed from something important. The drive north took hours. Mountains replaced buildings. Snow replaced noise. My friends talked and laughed, but my mind stayed behind with Noah, wondering why he needed distance so badly. That night, while unpacking at the lodge, I checked my phone. No message from him. I told myself he was busy. Family dinners ran late. Still, I sent a quick text. Made it, hope the lake's nice. The reply came an hour later. Busy, talk later. That was all. I stared at the screen, listening to laughter echo down the hallway, and for the first time, I admitted the thought I'd been avoiding. Whatever was happening that weekend, I wasn't meant to be part of it. And he had worked very hard to make sure of that. Lying in that lodge bed, I started replaying moments I'd buried for years. Not arguments, not obvious cruelty, just patterns I'd trained myself to excuse. I was never in the family group chat. Noah said it was mostly logistics. Birthdays would come and go, and I'd find out afterward that everyone had gone to dinner together. When I asked why we weren't invited, he'd say plans were last minute. Holidays were always complicated. Sometimes the schedule changed suddenly. Sometimes there was no space. Sometimes it just slipped their minds. I told myself it wasn't personal. When I was there, I felt it. Conversations shifted. Stories started mid-sentence, like I'd walked in too late to belong. His mother smiled politely, never warmly. His sister spoke to me like a guest who might not stay long. I noticed I was never asked for opinions, never included in decisions, never part of the photos unless Noah pulled me in himself. And Noah always had an explanation. They're just reserved, they take time, they don't mean it like that. After 5 years of marriage, I believed him, or maybe I needed to. That night I scrolled through my phone again, still nothing from him. I checked the time. If he'd really gone to the lake, he should have been done with dinner. He usually texted when he was bored. He was always bored with them. I opened social media without thinking. That's when I saw it. A notification, a tagged photo. At first it didn't register. Just a name I recognized, his aunt, a smiling face. A fancy background, then I read the caption. Celebrating our youngest's engagement. My heart dropped. Youngest meant his brother. I clicked. The photo loaded slowly, like it wanted to hurt me properly. Crystal lights, dressed tables, champagne glasses. This wasn't a reunion. This wasn't a lake house. This was an event. I zoomed in. His mother was there, his sister, his father, and then I saw him. Noah. Not in casual clothes, not tired, not bored. He was dressed perfectly, standing beside his brother, smiling in a way I hadn't seen in months. I scrolled, more photos, more angles, a ring, applause, a speech. His speech. My hands started shaking as I tapped my screen again and again, each post confirming the same truth. Everyone was there. Everyone except me. I checked the dates, the time, the location tag, everything matched where he said he was. Only the truth didn't. I called him immediately, straight to voicemail. I called again. Voicemail. Then a message appeared. Can't talk. 2 words, cold, dismissive, final. That was the moment it stopped being confusion. That was the moment I understood this wasn't about forgetting me. This was about choosing a version of his life where I didn't exist. And the worst part wasn't the engagement. It was realizing how easily he erased me from it. I locked myself in the bathroom and sat on the edge of the sink, staring at my phone like it might change its mind. I refreshed the feed again. More posts. More proof. Different angles of the same night I wasn't supposed to know about. There was a video this time. His brother dropping to one knee, applause erupting. Someone screaming in excitement. And there was Noah clapping, laughing, fully present, not distracted, not uncomfortable, not thinking about me at all. I watched it twice, then a third time. My phone buzzed, a message from him. We'll talk later. Later, like this was something small, like my reality hadn't just collapsed. I typed, deleted, typed again. Nothing I wrote felt big enough. I put the phone down before I said something I couldn't take back. When I walked back out, my friends looked at me and knew I didn't explain everything. I didn't have the energy, I just said, he lied to me. That was enough. I went outside and walked until the cold burned through my thoughts. Every step felt like it was keeping me from breaking apart. I kept replaying the same question over and over. How long had he known? This wasn't a last-minute plan. This was organized, planned, coordinated, which meant the lie had been ready before he ever said it to me. I thought about the way he'd pushed me toward my trip, the relief on his face, the way he'd said, "This is easier." Easier for who? My phone buzzed again. This time it was his sister. Why would you post something like that? I hadn't even realized I'd posted anything yet. My hands were still shaking when I opened my profile. The ski photo was there. The caption was there. Simple, honest, unfiltered. I didn't delete it. Messages started coming in fast. Confused ones, angry ones, accusatory ones. His family wasn't asking how I found out. They weren't asking if I was okay. They were asking why I spoke. Then his mother called. I let it ring. Then Noah texted. You embarrassed us. That word cut deeper than the lie. Us didn't include me. I typed back before I could stop myself. You erased me first. No reply. That silence felt louder than any argument we'd ever had. I realized then that this wasn't a misunderstanding. This wasn't bad communication. This was a system that worked perfectly as long as I stayed quiet. And the moment I stopped doing that, everything broke. I went back inside, grabbed my jacket, and told my friends I needed air. I didn't know what I was going to do next. I only knew one thing for sure. Whatever waited for me after this weekend was not the life I walked away from. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw his smile in those videos. Not a forced one. Not a polite one, a real smile, the kind he hadn't given me in months. By morning, the shock had settled into something sharper. Clarity. My phone was quiet for hours, and that silence felt intentional. Like they were deciding how to handle me, like I was a problem they needed to contain. Late morning, a message finally came from Noah. Why would you do that? That was it, not an explanation, not an apology, just blame. I stared at the screen, realizing something important. He wasn't angry that I was hurt. He was angry that other people could see it. Before I could respond, more notifications poured in. His sister again, then a cousin, then someone I barely knew. Screenshots were being shared. My photo was moving faster than I expected. Someone at the party had shown it to someone else. Someone had whispered. Someone had asked questions. The perfect night had cracked. A video appeared on my screen, tagged by someone I didn't follow. It showed Noah being pulled aside by his father. His face looked tense, irritated, exposed. The sound wasn't clear, but I didn't need it. I could read the panic on him. They were talking about me. That realization sent a strange calm through me. I hadn't raised my voice. I hadn't accused anyone publicly. I hadn't explained a single detail. All I did was exist honestly, for one moment. And that was enough to shake everything. Noah called. I answered this time. What were you thinking? He said immediately. I was thinking you lied to me, I replied. This wasn't the time, he snapped. You ruined something important. I laughed quietly. You mean the thing I wasn't invited to? Silence. They didn't want drama, he said finally. And I'm the drama, I said. He didn't deny it. That was the answer I'd been waiting for my entire marriage. You could have just stayed quiet, he added. We would have talked when I got back. Talked, like talking would change the fact that he stood on a stage, smiling, while I found out through strangers. I did stay quiet, I said, for years. Then I ended the call. Messages kept coming, some angry, some panicked, some suddenly polite. They weren't asking me to understand anymore. They were asking me to undo it. Delete the post, explain it away, fix their discomfort. I didn't respond to any of them. Because for the first time, I understood the truth. They weren't upset that I was excluded. They were upset that I wasn't invisible. By afternoon, I knew something was wrong beyond the messages. The tone had shifted. At first, they were angry, then defensive. Now they were nervous. Noah stopped texting. That scared me more than his anger. I opened social media again and saw why. Someone from the engagement party had uploaded another clip. This one showed him standing near the microphone, mid-speech. His words weren't clear, but the context was, he was praising family, loyalty, being there for each other. The comments under the video were different this time. Where's his wife? Isn't he married? Why isn't she there? Questions he never expected. I felt my chest tighten, not with panic, but with realization. He had built a version of his life where I existed privately but not publicly. A wife at home. A single man at family events. A convenient absence. My phone rang again. This time it was his mother. I answered. "Avery," she said sharply, "this is not appropriate." "What isn't?" I asked. "You know exactly what you're doing." "I posted a photo," I said, "that's all." "You caused confusion," she snapped. "People are talking." "They should," I replied. Her voice hardened. "You didn't need to make this public." That was when it hit me. They weren't upset about the lie. They were upset I didn't help them hide it. "Why wasn't I invited?" I asked calmly. A pause, too long. "This was a family event," she said. "I am his wife." Another pause. "We didn't think you'd fit in," she replied. There it was, finally spoken. I ended the call without saying goodbye. Minutes later, Noah called again. His voice sounded different now. Not angry, controlled. "You need to come home early," he said. "We need to fix this." Fix, not explain, not apologize. "I didn't break anything," I said. "You did." "This is affecting my work," he said. "People are questioning me." "Good," I replied. He went silent. "You could have protected me," he said quietly. I almost laughed, almost. "I did," I said, "for years." Then I hung up. I realized something in that moment that changed everything. I had spent my entire marriage softening my presence so his life would stay smooth. I absorbed discomfort so he wouldn't have to. I stayed quiet so he could stay comfortable. And the second I stopped doing that, his world started falling apart. That wasn't love. That was convenience. And I was done being useful to people who never chose me. I didn't tell him I was coming back early. That decision came quietly, fully formed, like my mind had already moved ahead of my heart. The drive felt longer than before. Not because of distance, but because every mile stripped away another excuse I'd made for him. By the time I reached our street, I wasn't angry anymore. I was focused. His car was already there. That surprised me. He said he'd return Sunday night. It was still afternoon. I sat in my car for a moment, breathing slowly. This wasn't a confrontation I'd rehearsed. I didn't need one. I already knew the truth. When I unlocked the door, he was in the kitchen, still dressed neatly, still put together, like he'd come straight from the place he swore didn't exist. "You're early," he said. No concern, no relief, just calculation. "So are you," I replied. He crossed his arms immediately, defensive, prepared. "You made everything worse." That was his opening line. Not "I'm sorry," not "we need to talk," just blame. "Worse than what?" I asked. "Worse than it had to be," he said. "This could have stayed private." Private, like I was supposed to protect the lie that erased me. "You lied to me," I said. "You let me plan a trip so I wouldn't be there." He sighed like I was exhausting him. "You don't understand how my family is." "I understand exactly how your family is," I said. "What I don't understand is you." He finally looked at me then, really looked, and for the first time, he didn't have an answer ready. "My mom didn't want tension," he said after a pause. "She wanted the night to be perfect." "And I ruined perfection," I said. He didn't deny it. That silence told me more than any explanation ever could. "Did you fight for me?" I asked. He looked away. "Did you tell her I'm your wife?" I asked again. Still nothing. That was it, the final confirmation. Not betrayal in one moment, but years of quiet agreement with my absence. I nodded slowly. "I need to pack." He stepped forward. "Don't do this." "I already am," I said. Upstairs, I packed without rushing. Every item I chose felt deliberate. I left behind anything tied to a future that no longer existed. He stood in the doorway watching, like a stranger in his own house. "I never meant for you to find out like this," he said. "That's the problem," I replied. "You never meant for me to find out at all." I closed the suitcase. Downstairs, I paused at the door. He didn't stop me. He didn't apologize. He didn't choose me even then. When I stepped outside, the air felt different. Not lighter, just honest. And I knew I wasn't walking away from my marriage. I was walking away from being invisible. I didn't cry when I drove away. That came later. Right then, everything inside me was quiet in a way I'd never felt before. Not peace, not relief, just a sharp stillness, like the moment after something breaks and before the sound reaches you. I stayed at my friend's place that night. I told her enough to make it make sense, not enough to relive it. She didn't ask questions. She didn't push. She understood that some stories need time before they can be spoken. My phone stayed face down on the table. At first, nothing came. No calls, no messages. That hurt more than I expected. Then, late at night, it started. A text from Noah. "We can talk when you calm down." I didn't respond. Another message followed. "You're overreacting." That one almost made me laugh. Almost. Minutes later, a missed call, then another. Then silence again. He was waiting for me to come back. He always had. This time I didn't. The next morning, I opened my phone to dozens of notifications, some from friends, some from people I barely knew, and some from his family. None of them asked how I was. They asked what I planned to do next. That told me everything. I checked social media once. The engagement posts were still there, perfect smiles, perfect captions, but something had changed. The comments were different now. People were asking questions. People were noticing what hadn't been noticed before. I was no longer missing quietly. Noah finally sent a longer message around noon. "You didn't have to leave. You're making this bigger than it is. My family will get over it if you stop pushing." Stop pushing, like my existence was pressure. I typed a reply, deleted it, typed again, deleted that too. Instead, I turned my phone off. That was the first time in years I wasn't waiting for him to decide what happened next. Hours passed, then more. Without his voice, his explanations, his ability to twist things into something manageable, the truth stood on its own. He didn't forget me. He didn't protect me. He didn't choose me. And the scariest part wasn't accepting that. It was realizing how long I'd helped him do it. That night, as I lay awake in a place that wasn't my home anymore, I understood something with painful clarity. This wasn't the end of a fight. This was the end of a version of my life that only existed because I stayed silent. And I wasn't sure yet what would come next. But I knew one thing. There was no going back to before. The next day, I turned my phone back on. Messages flooded in immediately, like they'd been waiting for permission. Some were supportive, some confused, some cautious. People didn't know what to say, but they knew something had happened. Then I saw his message. "You're hurting people who didn't do anything wrong." I read it twice. People's not me. That word told me exactly where I stood. A few minutes later, another message arrived. This one from someone unexpected, a cousin of his I barely spoke to. "I didn't know you weren't invited. I'm sorry." That was the first apology I'd received, and it didn't come from my husband. More messages followed. Quiet ones, private ones, people telling me they'd noticed things before but didn't want to get involved, people admitting they'd assumed I didn't attend by choice. The truth was spreading without me saying a word. By afternoon, Noah called again. I didn't answer. He left a voicemail. "You're letting strangers decide our marriage." I listened to it once. "No," I thought, "you did that when you lied." Then something else happened. A post appeared from his sister. A long one, carefully worded, about respecting privacy, about misunderstandings, about family boundaries. My name wasn't mentioned. But everyone knew. Comments started appearing beneath it. Questions, confusion, support for me, criticism for them. She deleted it within an hour. That's when I realized control was slipping away from them. Noah texted again. "This is affecting my work." That line felt heavy. I didn't respond right away. I waited until I was calm enough to be honest. "You made choices, this is the result." He replied almost instantly. "You're enjoying this." That accusation hit something deep. I wasn't enjoying it. I was surviving it. But he needed me to be cruel so he could stay innocent. I put the phone down again, but this time with intention. I wasn't running, I was choosing. That evening, my friend sat beside me and said quietly, "You know this isn't going to end cleanly." "I know," I replied. And that didn't scare me anymore. Because whatever came next, I wasn't the only one carrying the weight now. They were finally feeling it too. By the end of the week, everything had shifted. Not loudly, not dramatically, quietly, like a door closing behind me while I kept walking forward. Noah stopped calling. That scared me at first, then I understood why. Silence was the only control he had left. Then the first consequence landed. A message from him arrived late one night. One of my clients dropped me. No apology, no reflection, just information, like I was supposed to feel guilty. I read it slowly, recognizing the pattern. He wasn't asking for comfort, he was assigning blame. I didn't reply. The next day, another message followed. People are asking questions I can't answer. That was true, because the answers made him look exactly like who he was. That afternoon, I received a call from a number I didn't recognize. I almost ignored it. Something told me not to. The woman on the line introduced herself calmly. She worked with a firm Noah had connections with. She didn't accuse me of anything. She didn't threaten. She asked who I was. She asked what I did. She said my name had come up more than once that week. Apparently, people had noticed the difference between how he presented himself and the truth surrounding him. They were curious, and curiosity had consequences. When the call ended, I sat there in silence, understanding something important. I hadn't exposed him. He had exposed himself. My phone buzzed again, a longer message this time. "I hope you're happy, you ruined my reputation." I stared at it. Then I typed back one sentence. "You built it on a lie." No response came after that. Later that night, I opened social media again. I didn't post, I didn't comment, I just watched. People were connecting dots, quietly, publicly, permanently. Someone shared my photo again. Someone else added a caption I didn't write. Someone I'd never met messaged me, saying, "Thank you for not staying quiet." I closed the app. This wasn't about revenge. This was about truth moving faster than denial. And for the first time since all of this began, I felt something close to control. Not over him. Over myself. The first knock came 3 days later. I wasn't expecting anyone. I opened the door and saw Noah standing there, unannounced, tense, already frustrated. He looked like someone who had run out of options. "We need to talk," he said. "I don't," I replied. He stepped forward anyway. "This has gone far enough." "Not far enough," I said. "You're still pretending this is my doing." His jaw tightened. "You left, you posted, you let people assume things." "I didn't assume," I said. "I found out." That stopped him. He exhaled sharply. "My family is under attack." I stared at him. "Your family excluded your wife." "That's not how they see it." "That's not my responsibility." He looked around like he was searching for support that wasn't there. "You're blowing this out of proportion." I shook my head slowly. "You only say that because this is the first time consequences reached you." That word landed hard. "Come home," he said. "We can fix this." Fix again. I stepped back. "You don't fix something you were never willing to protect." He fell silent. "I asked you one thing," I continued. "Did you ever stand up for me?" He didn't answer. "I already know," I said. "That's why I left." He swallowed. "My mom wants to talk to you." That almost made me laugh. "She had years," I said. "She feels attacked," he added. "Good," I replied. His face changed then, not anger, not frustration. "Fear." "You're serious," he said. "Yes." "You're not coming back." "No." He stood there for a long moment, like he was waiting for me to change my mind. I didn't. When he finally left, he didn't slam the door. He didn't say goodbye. He just walked away. That night, messages arrived from his family. Short, careful, sudden concern. They weren't asking me to return. They were asking me to be quiet. That's when I knew they finally understood. I wasn't the woman they could ignore anymore. And I wasn't the wife who would absorb their discomfort. I was gone. And this time they felt it. The message came late at night. An email, formal, carefully writ, from his mother. The subject line said apology. For a second, I believed it. Not because I trusted her, but because I wanted to see if they were finally capable of honesty. I opened it. She wrote that no one intended to hurt me, that the engagement was complicated, that they assumed I wouldn't be interested, that planning was stressful, that emotions were high, that things were misunderstood. She said she hoped I could understand. She never said she was sorry. And she never said my name more than once. I read it slowly, line by line, and recognized the pattern immediately. Soft language, shifted blame, no ownership. It wasn't an apology. It was an explanation, designed to erase responsibility. I didn't reply. Within minutes, Noah texted. "Did you read it?" I didn't answer. Another message followed. "She's trying." I stared at the screen, realizing something important. Trying would have happened before the lie. Trying would have happened before the exclusion. Trying would have happened before the damage. I typed one sentence and sent it. "I needed you to try." No response came after that. The next day, more messages arrived. Not apologies, adjustments, requests, suggestions. Could I clarify my post? Could I explain that it was misunderstood? Could I reassure people privately? They wanted control back. I didn't give it to them. Instead, I watched something else unfold. People started telling their own stories. Quiet messages, long ones, women I didn't know explaining how they'd been excluded, minimized, erased. They weren't angry, they were relieved. That scared his family more than anything. Because now it wasn't about me. It was about a pattern they couldn't deny. Noah sent one final message that night. "You turned this into something it didn't have to be." I read it and finally understood the truth behind it. He didn't mean the situation. He meant my voice. And I wasn't taking it back. 3 days passed without hearing from Noah. That silence wasn't peace, it was strategy. Then a message arrived from someone I didn't expect, his cousin Emily. We'd never been close, but she'd always been polite, neutral, safe. "Can we talk?" I hesitated, then agreed. Her voice was low when she called, like she was afraid someone might hear her. She didn't waste time. "I didn't know you weren't invited," she said. "Not until the night of the party." I closed my eyes. Who did? She exhaled slowly. Everyone who needed to. "What does that mean?" "It was decided weeks ago," she admitted. "Your name came up. His mom said it would be better if you weren't there." My chest tightened. Better for who? "For them," she said quietly. "For Noah." I said nothing. "There were questions," she continued. "I asked why you weren't coming. She said you weren't really family yet." The word "yet" hit hard. "You've been married 5 years," Emily added. I didn't agree with it, but no one pushed back. "No one?" I asked. She paused. Noah didn't. That was the moment something inside me went completely still. "He didn't argue?" I asked. "No," she said. "He said it would be easier this way." Easier? The same word he'd used with me. Emily kept talking, but I barely heard her. My mind replayed years of moments I'd brushed aside. His silence at dinners, his discomfort when I spoke up, his need to smooth things over instead of standing firm. "He knew," I said. "Yes." "And he let me plan a trip," I added, "so I wouldn't be there." "Yes." I thanked her and ended the call. I sat there afterward, staring at nothing, finally understanding the full shape of the lie. It wasn't sudden. It wasn't impulsive. It was agreed upon. Planned. Accepted. I wasn't excluded by accident. I was removed. That night Noah called. I answered. "I know you talked to Emily," he said. "So you knew she'd tell me," I replied. "I didn't think she would," he said. I laughed once. "That's what you always think, that the truth won't reach me." He didn't respond. "You let them erase me," I said calmly, "and you helped." "It wasn't that simple," he said. "It was," I replied. "You just didn't want to choose." Silence stretched between us. "You could still come back," he said. We can reset. Reset, like I hadn't just learned the truth. There's nothing left to reset, I said. When I ended the call, I didn't feel broken. I felt certain. And that certainty was something he could never take from me. 2 nights later, Noah showed up again. This time, he didn't knock. I opened the door because I already knew he was there. I could feel it. The moment had been coming since that phone call with Emily. He looked tired, not apologetic, tired from losing control. I didn't mean for you to hear it like that, he said. Like what? I asked. Like I chose this. I stepped aside and let him in, not because I wanted him close, but because I wanted the truth without distance. You did choose it, I said. He shook his head quickly. I was trying to manage everyone, that's all. That's what you call lying, I asked. Managing. He sighed, rubbing his face. My family puts pressure on me, you know that. I know you let them, I replied. He stopped pacing. You're acting like I planned this to hurt you. You planned it to protect yourself, I said. The hurt was acceptable. That landed. He sat down slowly, like the weight of it finally reached him. I thought if you weren't there, things would be smoother. Smoother for who? For them, he admitted, and for me. There it was again, the truth slipping out when he was too tired to guard it. So you chose comfort, I said, over honesty. He didn't argue. I thought you'd never know, he said quietly. That sentence ended everything. I stared at him, understanding the depth of it, not regret, not guilt. Assumption. You built a version of your life where I was optional, I said. That's not fair. It's exact, I replied. He stood up abruptly. You're rewriting everything. No, I said, I finally read it correctly. He looked at me then, really looked like he was seeing a stranger. Maybe I was. You've changed, he said. Yes, I agreed, because I stopped believing your version. The silence between us thickened. You're not coming back, he said. No. And you won't help fix this, he added. There's nothing to fix, I said, only things to accept. He nodded slowly, like he was memorizing my face. I never thought you'd walk away, he admitted. That's why you risked it, I said. When he left this time, he didn't look back. And for the first time, neither did I after Noah left. I didn't feel relief. I felt alert, like I'd crossed a line where nothing could be softened anymore. The next morning, he sent one message. Can we talk one last time? I agreed, not because I needed closure, but because I wanted the truth without excuses. We met in a quiet place neither of us could claim. He arrived early. I arrived on time. He didn't sit down right away. I keep thinking about one thing, he said. What if I'd handled it differently? I looked at him. You did handle it, repeatedly. He swallowed. If I had told them no. You didn't, I said. But if I had, he continued, things wouldn't be this bad. That's where you're wrong, I replied. They'd be worse for you. He frowned. You'd have been uncomfortable, I said. You'd have had to defend me. You avoided that. He stayed quiet. So I'll ask you one thing, I continued, and I want the truth. He nodded. When your mother said she didn't want me there, did you agree with her? He opened his mouth, closed it, looked away. That pause answered everything. Yes, he said finally. I didn't react, I just absorbed it. Because part of me thought she was right, he added quickly. You don't blend easily with them. There it was. 5 years reduced to a compatibility issue. Then why marry me? I asked. He didn't answer. I wasn't difficult, I said. I was inconvenient. He reached for my hand. I pulled away. You didn't just fail to defend me, I said. You believed I deserved it. That's not what I meant. It's what you did. Silence settled between us, heavy and final. I can change, he said. No, I replied. You would have already. He looked defeated. So this is it. Yes. I stood up. He stayed seated. As I walked away, I felt something release inside me. Not anger, not sadness. Permission. Permission to stop waiting for him to choose me. He never had. And that truth ended everything. I went back to the house one final time while he was at work. I didn't tell him. I didn't need to. Everything felt different now, not heavy, not emotional, just clear. I wasn't there to argue or explain. I was there to finish something. I moved through the rooms slowly, taking only what belonged to me, not what we shared, not what could start another conversation, just mine. My clothes, my documents, my jewelry, the things that existed before him and would exist after. I found the note I'd left in his bag weeks ago, the one with the heart. He'd placed it on the nightstand instead of throwing it away. That surprised me. I picked it up, read it once, then left it where it was. That version of me didn't need to follow me forward. I heard his car pull into the driveway sooner than expected. I didn't rush. I zipped the suitcase and carried it downstairs. He stood in the doorway when I reached the bottom step. "You didn't tell me you were coming," he said. "I didn't owe you that," I replied. He looked at the suitcase. "So this is really happening." "It already did," I said. He stepped aside, letting me pass. That was the closest he'd come to choosing me in years, and it was too late. At the door, he spoke again. "I never thought it would end like this." "It didn't end suddenly," I said. "You just stopped noticing." He nodded once. I walked out without turning back. By the time I reached my car, my phone buzzed. A message from him. "I hope you find what you're looking for." I stared at it, then typed one reply. "I already did." I blocked his number after that. Not out of anger. Out of finality. Because the story between us didn't need more words. It needed an ending. I thought leaving would end the noise. It didn't. It changed it. The first sign came through someone else. A mutual acquaintance messaged me late one evening. "Did you hear what's happening with Noah?" I didn't reply, but I didn't need to. Information finds its way when silence creates space. The next day, another message arrived, then another, different people, same pattern. Clients pulling back, meetings canceled, invitations disappearing. Nothing dramatic, nothing public. Just distance. That was how his family operated too. Quiet exclusion. The irony didn't escape me. Noah tried reaching out through email after I blocked his number. Short messages, careful ones. He never mentioned love, never mentioned missing me. He mentioned stress, pressure, damage. I didn't respond. Then his sister messaged me for the first time. "This has gone too far." Too far? That phrase always arrived when consequences became uncomfortable. I ignored it. A week later, I heard his mother had stopped attending certain events. Questions followed her now, polite ones, curious ones, the kind that couldn't be shut down easily. She didn't like that. Noah sent one final email. I never thought one post could undo everything. I read it once. Then I closed it. Because it wasn't the post. It was the truth, finally moving without his permission. Meanwhile, my life was doing something unexpected. It was opening. People reached out, not for gossip, but connection. Conversations started that had nothing to do with him. Opportunities appeared quietly, naturally. I wasn't chasing anything. I was just no longer hiding. One night, a message came from someone I didn't recognize. "Thank you for not backing down. I needed to see that." I stared at it longer than I expected. That was when I realized something important. My silence had protected his world. My honesty had exposed it. And I wasn't responsible for what couldn't survive daylight. The balance had shifted. And he felt it. The messages didn't stop. They multiplied. At first they were short, careful, women asking if I was okay. Then they grew longer, braver. Stories poured in that felt uncomfortably familiar. One woman wrote that she'd been married 10 years and still wasn't invited to holidays. Another said she was always introduced as his wife, never by name. Someone else admitted she'd learned about her husband's family events through photos, just like I did. Different lives, same pattern. I read every message. And with each one, something settled deeper inside me. This wasn't coincidence. This wasn't personal failure. This was a system that survived on silence. One message stood out. It was from a woman in Noah's hometown. "I know exactly which family you're talking about. They've done this before." I stared at the screen. She continued. "You weren't the first. You're just the first who didn't disappear quietly." That sentence stayed with me. Meanwhile, Noah's world kept tightening. I heard he'd stopped attending family dinners, that his brother avoided questions, that his mother corrected people too quickly when my name came up. They were losing control of the story. Noah tried once more, not through messages, through someone else. A mutual friend called me. "He's not doing well," she said carefully. "I know," I replied. "He's embarrassed," she added. "That's not the same thing," I said. She paused. "He thought you'd come back." "I thought he'd choose me," I answered. We both fell silent. Later that night, I opened my phone and saw another message from a stranger. "Watching you walk away gave me courage." That one broke something open in me. Not pain. Purpose. I hadn't planned to be visible. I hadn't planned to be strong. I just stopped protecting a lie that never protected me. And now, voices were rising where there used to be none. Noah didn't reach out again after that. I think he finally understood. This wasn't something he could undo. Because it was never just about us. It had been almost a month since I left when he showed up again. This time he didn't call ahead. He waited outside. I saw him through the window before he saw me. He looked thinner, worn down, like someone who'd finally run out of explanations. I opened the door and stepped outside, closing it behind me. "I just need 5 minutes," he said. "You already had 5 years," I replied. He nodded like he expected that. "I know, I just didn't think this would be the outcome." "That's because you never imagined me leaving," I said. He looked down. "I didn't think you'd walk away from everything." "I walked away from you," I corrected. "Everything else stayed." He swallowed. "I'll talk to them, I'll set boundaries, I should have done it before." "You didn't," I said. "I can now." I shook my head. "Now it's not courage, it's damage control." He stepped closer. "We can go to counseling." "You didn't need counseling to tell the truth," I replied. He looked desperate then. "I miss you." That was the first time he'd said it. "I don't miss who I was with you," I said. That hurt him more than anger ever could. "Please," he said, "don't let this be how it ends." "It already ended," I replied. "You're just arriving late." He stood there, silent, finally understanding that nothing he said would change my mind. "I never thought one decision would cost me everything," he said quietly. "It didn't," I said. "A pattern did." He nodded once, stepped back and turned away. I watched him leave without calling him back. That was the last time I saw him. And for the first time, I knew it was truly over. After he walked away, nothing dramatic happened. No final message, no apology, no grand moment of closure. Just space. At first, the quiet felt unfamiliar. I kept expecting my phone to buzz, expecting a new version of the same conversation. It didn't come. The story had finished telling itself. The questions stopped too. People moved on. Scandals always do. What stayed was something quieter and stronger. Clarity. I thought back to the morning he deleted that message and said it was just his mom. That moment had held the entire truth. I just didn't know how to read it yet. He hadn't lied once. He'd been lying in pieces. Each excuse had been small enough to forgive. Each silence easy to explain. Together, they built a life where I existed only when it was convenient. And when convenience ended, so did the marriage. I didn't celebrate leaving. I didn't feel victorious. What I felt was awake. I stopped checking his life, stopped waiting for explanations, stopped needing validation from people who never intended to give it. The strangest part was how quickly my world adjusted without him. Days filled themselves. Conversations felt lighter. Decisions didn't require permission. I wasn't rebuilding. I was reclaiming. One evening, I scrolled past the photo that started everything. I didn't delete it. I didn't share it again. It didn't belong to the past or the present. It belonged to the moment I stopped disappearing. The lie had collapsed on its own. All I had done was step out from under it. And when the silence finally settled, I understood the truth that no one had ever said out loud. I was never excluded by accident. I was excluded because I was expected to accept it. I didn't. And that choice changed everything. You have reached the end of the text.